Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome back to the Blacktown Football Hour podcast. This is episode number, the atomic number of sulphur, the legal drinking age in Portugal, the legal driving age on the Isle of Man, and of course, exactly 99 numerical values short of the number of financial breaches that Manchester City are being investigated for by the Premier League and UEFA. Let's be a little bit nicer. It's also the number of goals that Miroslav Klose has at the World Cups, which is a record. Episode number 16 of the Blacktown Football Hour podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Leave a like for financial breaches and, of course, cue the intro music. My name is, of course, Mark DePoli, your ever-antagonising, truth-bearing podcast host who's here to remind you that on this day, 22 June of 1986, mind you, it was the day that Maradona coined the term Hand of God. So, by the hand of Mark, let's get into the Volunteer of the Week. This week's Volunteer of the Week emerges from William Lawson Reserve, Prospect United, and it's Janae Tauro. Janae is a proud soccer mum to 3 boys who all play for Prospect United. Janae is one of the first people to put their hand up to get things done for the club. Every single week, Janae line marks our senior and mini Roos fields, works in the canteen, and makes sure everyone is happy from start to finish across both days of the weekend. Janae is instrumental in driving our, as in Prospects, subcommittees to organise presentation days and is an invaluable asset to the community. We do not thank her enough, the words of Prospect United's Lucas Clark, their president. Janae, today is the day that you get some recognition for your hard and dedicated work. From the BDSFA to you, thank you. On this week's episode of the Blacktown Football Hour podcast, listen, I get it. I know it's been a long time since Marayong have been on. I get that everybody wants to sort of figure out what they're doing that's making them so good. I hear you, okay, I understand. They're on the podcast this week. Are you happy? Thank you. How do you get your 21s, Marion? How did you get undefeated in both grades? How are your reserve grade 10 from 10? How are you so good competing at all these competitions? Well, we'll find out, okay? And you get the match of the round to watch them this weekend as well, okay? So just relax. I've heard you. Don't worry, okay? Patience is a virtue. Leave a like to finally hear some gossip on Marion, okay? Thank you. As well, of course, ahead of the Alex Moy Cup in the match of the round this weekend, we spoke to their opponents and also one of the former clubs of Alex Moy in Park Lee. Park Lee have really started to pick up in recent weeks, so this timing of the match of the round is perfect in my personal opinion. And of course, ahead of consecutive Women's Premier League match of the round games here at BFP, we've also got Marion on the podcast again, but in the Women's, of course, who are now playing their best football so far this season. They're up against Castle Hill United, who are also peaking at the right time. It's the first time I've had the pleasure of covering either of those two sides as the commentator, and I'm truly delighted to be able to do so. Both of those teams could feasibly make it into the top 4 spots come the end of the season. Of course, Castle Hill United are also already sitting there right now. So, peaking, like I said, at the right time of the season. Perfect match of the round game for your Sunday afternoon. Let's start with some results before we go and chat to league leaders Marion, because we all love some results to break up the tension. Are you ready for this AYL, boys? Of course, we're up against Western New South Wales. They don't have a 13s team, but the 14s they do have, and boom, we beat them 4-0. A 1-1 draw in the 15s was a very good result. A 3-1 loss for the 16s, but boom, an 8-3 win in the 18s. Very, very healthy day of results. Very, very good. If you'd like a full rundown of the results, head to our Instagram page, Blacktown_football, or of course BDSFA on Facebook. I do a weekly write-up on what each of those results means for their respective leagues and divisions, however you want to sort of call it. Go there and leave it a like. Right, let's jump into chatting with Marion. Sit back and don't relax, because I know you'll all be taking notes and watching this intently and hanging off every single word. Thanks to those guys in advance for staying back in the cold at Harvey Park, and I will see you in about 20 minutes. For the first time in a long time, and a very welcome return to the podcast, it's Marayong. They've had quite the start of the season across all 3 grades, and we're here to figure out what the heck they're doing that's got them to be so damn good. I'm joined by Shia Alan Chakal, as you all know. I'm joined by Kevin Guerrero, by Shia's brother, Merv, and of course Kelvin, our goal of the year winner last year. Some very familiar faces to join, and finally we'll get some familiar voices to match those faces. Kev, you've got the microphone at the moment. I just want to know, are you finally happy to have the spotlight on you after all these weeks of not having the match of the round?
Oh yeah, it's been a long time. I don't know. You gotta ask him.
Give it to someone else.
Thanks.
Give it to someone else.
Yeah, bro, it's good.
Okay, third time's a charm. Merv, finally back on the podcast. Happy, yes or no?
Yes, we're very happy. We're looking forward to this weekend. There's a great purpose of this weekend. One of our teammates passed away 2 years ago. It's a fixture that we all look forward to. The boys trained really well tonight and looking forward to the game.
Certainly. This is obviously the fixture where you scored your goal of the year winner in last year, so this has got your name written all over it if you want. Talk us through that goal, by the way, just because I wasn't there on the day. When it came to you, did you just instinctively think to hit it?
From memory, I pretty much the ball came so high, and if I didn't hit it, there was like a lot of players on me, so I was like, I may as well hit it. I don't care where it goes, as long as it goes that way towards the goals. It's better than trying to control it, losing the ball, and then they get a counter attack. So I hit it, and then sweet connection. Let's give the microphone to Shia. So, my friend, I want to talk about all three grades as much as possible. I know how involved you are in the coaching scene. Now, before we focus in on first grade, there have been 8 points dropped throughout the entire year across three grades. It's been fantastic. You've got particularly undefeated in first and reserve. Reserve is 10 from 10. It's been magisterial so far. I just want to know, particularly the 21s, because they were mid-table last year, from what you can speak of from watching them, what's been the key to just this level of success? It's been unprecedented. What's been the change?
Look, this year has actually been one of the best years we've had. Obviously, bringing a new coach for the 21s, Robert, and obviously he's been scouting the boys for a long time, and he did bring up some good boys. And these boys, they listen to him. They train like no tomorrow, man, and they know that the team that we have with our resis and the first grade, the quality that we have in the team, so it gives them kind of that extra motivation to actually push themselves a little bit further, you know. And yeah, this year it's like we've been training together sometimes, and there's obviously a couple of players in that team that been standing out throughout the season a lot more, and myself and Kevin have been rewarding them throughout the season as well. So it's like a bit of a motivation for them to push themselves harder. Resis, we obviously added some players into the team, and like myself and Kevin, we always do our homework really good to not just bring anyone, but always also to bring people that will fit in the team and with the chemistry and everything, like the personality of the person that will fit into the team as well. So, like I said, touch wood, we've been going really good so far, and hopefully throughout the season we'll continue all the way out. So
for sure, really well said. I came in from the car park watching. I haven't obviously watched the training session all year. Haven't watched the game besides the one at Quakers, which we'll get to later on. But seeing the cool downs to make sure that they had covered all their kilometres for the night and stuff like that, it's very sort of above the sort of community football level. So just even that little 5 seconds that I saw is very, very good. Obviously, the reserve grade made a grand final last year. Not one that I got to watch a lot because I was preparing my stuff for the first grade game, but having finished in first, obviously it wasn't a perfect record last year, but the reserve grade has been stellar, and obviously you had the most sort of control over that. So is there any more you can sort of extend on maybe on the reserve grade in particular, maybe how you sort of recovered from that reserve grade grand final?
I mean, with our resis, I think the last couple of years we've been making the semi and the grand final non-stop, and like I said earlier, that whoever we bring into the team, we need to make sure that we need to maintain our level in football right at the top. Obviously, we know a lot of clubs that also that sees us like an extra motivation to push themselves for every year as well. The clubs like Ponds, it's always a good rivalry going on there. So, but with the guys that we brought in, they kind of knew the expectation that and the quality that we had in the team as well. And like I said before, myself and Kevin, it's just the boys are hungry. When you got attackers that are always hungry to score goals, you can see from the goal difference already that it motivates them every week to score more and more and more, because you don't want to leave your moments till the last minute. You just want to make sure that you get the win nice and early. And like I said, myself and Kevin, we do our homework every game against every different opponent. We come up with different strategies, so so
Very
far
good.
it's going good.
Very good. Hungary, unlike New South Wales right now, down 16-0 in the first 50 minutes of Origin Game 2. Fantastic stuff. Kev, let's pass the microphone to you. I'll give you a bit more time to prepare for this question. I want to focus in on first grade. Now, obviously, that's where the Match of the Round fixture and live stream is. We spoke last year in the BDSFA boardroom, you, myself, and Merv, about peaking at the right time, about your finals experience, and it didn't transpire that way. In fact, it was done by round one, behind the game that ended up being live streamed. So obviously it ended with workers in a funny old game that was probably more entertaining than the one that we had on. Anyway, I just wanted to know, did you look at last season, or do you look back at last season now as a failure in comparison, or some ways there was a bit of a fail, or was it more of a learning curve?
No, not really. I mean, we still have pretty much the same team if you look at it. We've just got a few signings that have replaced the players that have left. But it was just one of them years, I think, that we had injured players at the wrong time and just players going away. This year is a bit different. We've got a lot of players to back up now from 20s and resis, and they do the job, even from 20s resis. So the whole strength of the squad is really good this year. So halfway through the whole season, we just got to keep turning up and keep doing what we're doing just to finish off strong.
Absolutely. Now, Merv, you've already sort of spoken about this, but this fixture in particular is an important one for off-the-field reasons as well. Now, from a personal perspective, and sort of in my first year of the role and doing the podcast, I wasn't sure how to approach this and how to talk about it, but this fixture is important. Last year was its inaugural year, the Alex Moy Cup, the Parkley versus Marayong game, and we get to do it again, which I think is fantastic. What does this fixture mean to this group of players, if you can sort of speak on behalf of?
Yeah, we go week to week. We try to dedicate all our games towards Alex. But this weekend, it means much more because we get Alex's family that come, his mum and dad comes through, and we walk out with them, do the minute silence. It means a lot to the boys, you know. You sort of remember the times that you had with him on the field and off the field. The boys are really much looking forward to it, to be honest. It's like we keep saying, it's extra motivation week in, week out, but this week we'll be much more hungry and ready to go out.
Okay, now focusing in entirely on the football, but particularly with the off-season, I want to hear about what are the key changes personnel-wise that have helped from the off-season to now, or from last season to now, I should say. Now, let me throw a name out first, and the big one I think is Rivaldo, mainly because sort of to go from one top club to another is a huge thing. Obviously, he's a sort of junior of the club, I guess you could say, in a way. Is there anyone brave enough to talk about the transfer dealings in the off-season?
Yeah, when we had Rivaldo a few years back, I thought he was much younger, a little bit of immaturity there, and his comeback. I personally thought there was a little bit of risk by having Rivaldo in the squad, but he's very mature. He's gelled in really well, and he's one of the best right wingers in the league. It's my opinion. So, he's gelled into the team very well. But I think the difference this year is we're going into every game by respecting our opponents, not going in cocky to any game, and I think that's what's getting us over the line. Give them respect, but also defeat them. Don't take anything lightly. And the boys are switched on every game like that. So, and we're just looking forward to the rest of the season with the same attitude.
Kelvin, you're out there in the midfield every single week, so you would know exactly where, sort of looking either over your shoulder or looking in front of you, where the sort of biggest improvements have been from 2022 to 2023. When you, as I said, out there in the midfield, has it been easier for you to dictate games, to get on the ball a bit more, to facilitate play? Have you noticed that there's been a massive difference?
I wouldn't say it's a massive difference. I think we've always strived to play good football, playing out from the back as best as we can, and we've got the quality of players to do it. So I wouldn't say a big difference. I would say one big difference is I think in the final third we're just much more clinical, and we are choosing the better options, and we're doing the smarter sort of team-based options, going down the line instead of going by yourself. We're trying to cross it in. A lot of our goals are scored like that. So I think that's a big difference between this year and last year, which has helped us kind of, put teams to bed earlier.
Mm-hmm. Let's keep the microphone with you, actually. So again, being in the midfield, the hardest runners probably besides or along with fullbacks. You guys are in about 15 different cup competitions besides the league this year. You're doing State Cup, you're doing Cotton Cup, which you'll obviously want to go back in. You're going to do everything, and I'm sure we'll probably get to Champions of Champions, touch wood. I hope I didn't curse it. It's been busy. I think there was a spell of 5 games in 10 days about a month or two ago, something crazy like that. But you've actually remained ultra competitive. If anything, in the first grade space, I guess you could say 2 draws in the last month is a slip. Ooh, it's not really that big of an oomph, is it? It's been pretty high standards. Sort of what's been, obviously the easy answer is to say squad depth, but what's been the key to sort of managing, let's say 5 games in 10 days?
Apart from squad depth, look, I think we're just, trying to take care of ourselves in terms of our bodies as well. Off the field, I know we've had Kev organised for us to do something like float therapy, some other things that we wouldn't normally do, just to get our bodies recovered and well prepared for the next game. So that's something different, and I think a little bit extra that helps towards us being able to back up with so many games.
Kev, can you expand on that just a little bit? Sort of what the advice you gave to them was?
Yeah, just look after themselves because we're getting old. It's getting colder late at night, and as long as they just look after their bodies, they can be prepared for the games. So ice bath, Epsom salt bath. Yeah, we've got an ice bath in our locker room. Still, no one's used it. It's too cold, but yeah, everyone. I think some people at home got their own bath. So as long as they just do something, because this time of the year is a lot of injuries as well. So we just got to make sure we maintain our, recovery.
Very good. And things like, just quickly just throw this on, but things like with an ice bath here or sort of that sort of advice, do you feel like really supported? We've got Najee standing right here behind the camera. Does that extra support from the club, having that resource right there, has that made things easier and made you feel a bit more sort of encouraged to take that next step this year?
Oh yeah, Najee's pretty good. Like things we ask for, he generally does provide. So stuff like that, to have that in there all year, it's pretty good, just to have in case some players do use it usually in pre-season, but not many this time of the year.
Style of play is something I want to touch on now. I've only been able to watch I've had the pleasure of watching a resounding victory 4-0 over Quakers at Quakers about a month ago. By the way, if you guys are getting cold, I can switch around the questions. It's all good. You just let me know because it is freezing. But yes, so in terms of style of play, I watched that 4-0 over Quakers and it was pretty good. I was very, very impressed with what I saw. At times last year, I think tactically what I noticed was, sort of when you went forward, I noticed Ryan would drop in to make a 3 between the 2 centre-backs. You would hit the wingers quite a lot. I remember Kuzi and Haramas obviously were quite good at that, and Merv, when you played on the wing as well. Has that adapted? Has that changed? What are the sort of tactical insights that you can give us? Because we haven't had the pleasure of watching the match of the round yet. So have there been any sort of big tactical changes that you could sort of reveal or hint for us?
Not really. It just depends on. Sometimes we have different formations, different players. We played a bit different to some other teams. It just depends. We like to just put out too much of our secrets, but we just like to see how they play, and we know how they play some teams, so we just try and attack. Yeah.
Shao, with your reserve grade, do you tend to sort of adopt the style of the first grade space so that your players can make that step up if needed, or do you have your own sort of way of playing?
With resis and first grade, we both we try to keep them as one unit as much as we can, and regardless whether it's resis or first grade, it's we know that we're a team that we can actually dominate a lot of games and create a lot of chances. Obviously, sometimes when the game, depending on the situation of the game, and sometimes if we're panicking or things are not going against us, that we just, myself and Kev, we always talk to them half-time break and tell them the things that they need to work on a little bit to calm them down. And because we have no doubts that we will create a lot of chances in the game, but obviously giving the right information to the boys ends up bringing us the points at the end of the day. So
Absolutely. Now let's do a little bit of a throwback to the first game against Parkley earlier in the season. In the first grade space, it was a last-minute 1-0 win. Now Parkley have spoken, and again have spoken this week, as you'll see when it goes up on Thursday 7 p.m, that their season's been about moments that haven't gone their way. Finally, they had sort of set of moments that went their way. Their first win in first grade was a 2-1 over Rivo about 2 to 3 weeks ago. But yes, moments is what they've talked about, and they referred to this game as one of those where they just let themselves slip. Was that a relieving feeling? Not just maintaining your perfect start to the season at that time, but to know that you can win games late on as well?
Yeah, for that game, credit to Parklea boys. They obviously they were really playing with heart, a lot of passion in there, and they actually did push us right until the end. Obviously, we had a lot of chances, but we couldn't take it, so we kind of made it a little bit more difficult for us. But to find that, obviously, that late goal to give us the 3 points was a big relief, because honestly, it does change the whole game. And scoring a last-minute goals, I've always loved it myself too, so I couldn't ask for it more. So the boys were actually, everyone was fired up, and that kind of did motivate the boys every week to push more, get more hungry. As you can see, looking at the ladder, we haven't lost the game yet. We've drawn twice, and like I said, the boys are just looking forward to every week to play whoever we play against, just to make sure that we deliver the style of football that we play. So.
Kelvin, you obviously played in this fixture last year. The Alex Moy Cup fixture of 2022 was an 8-goal thriller. There just seems to be something about when you guys, no matter where you are on the table, no matter what sort of form you come into it, there always just seems to be a decent game between you guys and Parkley. Do you have the answer as to why we have these 8 or 9 goal thrillers? What is it between these two teams?
No, I actually don't. To be fair, I think you just on the day. Both teams are feeling it and are really into it. It's going to be a good game. So yeah, no, we just on the day. It just depends on how we're all both feeling. But I think this weekend we're going to be ready for it.
Mm-hmm. Now, Merv, when I spoke to you in the boardroom, as I mentioned in one of the first questions, you said to me that 2022 would be, you would peak at the right time in the finals. I'm going to put it to you again. I said I'm going to ask you quite simply, as of right now, with the start that you guys have had, you've gone past the midway point of the season. You're playing each team now for the second time. Is the goal as simple as to be there on grand final day and then win it? Or is it more about maintaining your undefeated streak? Is there sort of any other goals that you'd like to maintain? Is it a collective squad goal? What has been the conversations in recent times about the rest of the season forecast?
To be honest, we haven't spoken too far ahead about the end of the finals or anything. We try to take it week by week and to stay consistent. But obviously the goal is to be minor premiers in both all 3 grades, get the club championship, and get the treble between all 3 grades. So that's our goal. There's no secrets about it. But going off last year, my prediction was, we always thought we were going to win, but it was very open to the top 5. You couldn't think of who would win the grand final, and we always said us and Pons would be in the grand final, and the Doonside ended up winning. So, but this year we are a little bit more switched on. I think there's a little bit more class in the boys. Individually, I think we have more skilled players across the whole competition. But that doesn't mean anything if we don't go out there and play as a team. So, and I think that's just been our secret. Us boys, we just train well together and take it to the game.
Kev, the coach, gets the last question, and I promise I'll get you guys out of the cold after this. In a fortnight, you have a match of the round away to Doonside, who are second right now. Is that the grand final round 1?
No, I don't think so. It's not to say it won't be the grand final, but like Merv said, we take it week by week until the final series comes, and that's when we focus on that. But I mean, we'd like to get revenge on them from the last game last year. I think if we won, we would have got club championship. So yeah, I think it will be on. Definitely.
Who do you think has given you the most difficult game so far? I mean, you could say Parkley because it came out to the final minute. What do you reckon so far?
So far, look, you could say Parkley, and then you could say Ropes Crossing on the weekend. That was what, 5 minutes left, and we scored.
Played really well.
And they played really well. I'll be frank with you, mate, every team we've played has been hard. Like, it's not been can't say this team was easy. Every game we've played. And like Kelv said, we've just been lucky enough to be clinical. Some chances last year we'd have 6 and miss 6 all in front of goals in the first half. This year we'll have 5 chances and maybe score 2 or 3, you know.
From PL1 to PL2 to the Women's Premier League, we have 3 great competitions that are being live streamed this year. Marayong are the top of the lot across our 800 plus teams in the BDSFA this year, which is a pretty good title to hold on to. They are doing wonderful things here behind the scenes and on the pitch as well, which is the most important thing. Kelvin, thank you very much. Merv, really do appreciate it. You too, especially with our jackets. Kev as well, and Shia, really do appreciate it. You guys are doing great things. We will see what happens in the Alex Moy Cup this Saturday from 6 p.m. But boys, just generally, thanks very much.
Thanks, Mark. Cheers.
Welcome back. Those are the secrets to success. Boy, that moment with Kev at the start was one of the funniest moments in podcast history, to be honest. I haven't laughed like that in a long time. Make of that what you will, though. Not that they revealed all too much, but enough to make you think, hey, let's get back into some results. With the Spartans girls reserve grade coming up with a 1-0 win and our 18s winning 3-1 as well. We picked up some vital club championship points last Sunday, especially since we lost 4-0 in first grade in a disappointing end to the day. We figured it was about time for a little update on the Littlies as well. So the 14s sit in third place. The 15s are crushing the competition with 14 wins and a draw from 15 games in total. The 16s are struggling a little bit in the mid-table, but they've had their best form so far in the last 5 games. While the 18s, as you could probably guess, are equal first with FNSW right now. Now, let's go chat to Park Lee. On a very cold night here at Blacktown Football Park, where we're having to make do with the lack of lighting because for once, for the first time this season, there's no games happening here on BFP1. I'm joined by Park Lee's Jordan D'Alessandro. Jordy, thanks for being here very much. I do appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me again. Much appreciated.
Of course, keen for the match of the round this weekend. Of course, it's the Alex Moy Memorial Game between Park Lee and Marion. It's an annual event now, as it was in its inaugural year last year, so it's great to be able to talk to these 2 teams ahead of what is an important occasion. Jordy, how's the injury healing up, my friend? How are you feeling?
Yeah, back after 4.5 weeks of excruciating waiting, but we're back, and so I got some minutes under the belt in Resi's last week and got a good win. So yeah, happy to be back, and now it's just about building up my fitness again.
Good to hear. So for you avid match of the round watchers, Jordy went down. It wasn't really under a challenge. It was kind of just chasing after the ball at this part of the Blacktown Football Park.
Hamstring just went.
Yeah,
it just went.
That's the easy way to say it. Let's get into the questions. We have some slightly different sort of versions of what I asked last time to put to you. And of course, we have a big W next to your name against Rivo as well. But we'll get to that in just a moment. So tell me about that game in both reserve and first. You would have been there observing it from the sideline. The feeling around Park Lee after that seems like palpably amazing. So tell me about that day.
Look, the boys in Resis in particular have been stringing some really good results together. We're starting to find our feet, starting to find our form, and we're working very, very, very hard. And to get the win in first grade finally after half the season is great. We worked really, really hard, plugged away and took our chances. And I spoke about it last time when we spoke down there about our moments. We took our moments and we were able to capitalise and finally get a win. So now it's just about building on that momentum and moving forward.
Yes, I was going to ask about that because moments was the key way that we put it. It was the last minute moment against X and it was the last minute moment against Y, and that's where the points were being lost. And this time it wasn't even just putting 0 points into 1 point, it was turning 1 point into 3, and to have a double win in both reserve and first is really good for club championship. You've got a couple of teams around you, or I guess I should say above you, that are still sort of competing and fighting not to go down. So we'll get to that specifically in a bit, but let's just focus on that game a little bit more. Like you said, it hinted on, it was a game of moments. Did they have their moments as well, and it was a case where your goalkeeper got in the way and you just happened to take your moments, or was it actually you played really well and definitely deserved the win?
Look, we definitely played really well, and I think we did deserve the win. Our moments defensively were really, really good. We took our chances, like I said, and we were really, really solid. And to have some of the first grade players come back from injury and whatnot just lifted the boys immensely, and it was just a great day out.
Awesome. I saw the post-match celebrations, and they were probably the loudest I've heard in a long, long time. Was it good to just be able to sing the team song? Yeah,
I think my throat was bleeding after singing the song, but ate some broccoli and healed it back up. So yeah, it was absolute limbs.
Since then, though, it's been a difficult spell of games. You've just had Ponds, and even though you scored 2 in that game, which is always a positive thing, they happened to put on a bit more than you guys, so it was a game that didn't go your way, certainly in first grade, but Marayong up this weekend, and then you said you've got Doonside, and then Quakers after that. The Quakers will be a really interesting game, but this 3-game spell in particular, last game, this game next, testing times. So with the momentum that was built, a fortnight ago or just over it now because of the break that we had, are the boys still feeling positive ahead of this one?
Absolutely. The boys have been working really, really hard in training since we've come back from the break, and we still want to carry that momentum that we got from the win a couple of weeks ago, and we're playing on such a fantastic and tremendous occasion, outside the football scope as well. So look, we're going to turn up on Saturday night, give our 100%, and show why we belong in this comp.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, between you two, Marayong and Parkley, there tends to be some really amazing games between you guys. There was like an 8 or 9 goal thriller in this game, the equivalent of this game in 2022, which I wasn't present for. I had to watch along at home with no voice, which is a shame because it was a banging game and the goal of the year was scored. What is it about you two teams that just seems to spell 8, 9, 10 goal thriller?
I don't know, to be honest. Moments defensively, if we're going to talk from a football perspective, but Marayong always give us a great game, and I think we always give them a good contest as well. We have a good rivalry dating back many years with players coming and going, and a few historic games in the mix there. So it's always fun to play Marayong, and they always give us a great competitive game, and we're looking forward to matching that.
Now let's throw back to last time that you played against Marion. Could you remind us exactly of how that went?
It was a 1-0 loss in the 90th minute.
Yes. Sorry, I just had to make sure that I was thinking of exactly the right game because it's just come to my mind that I want to mention it. So things to rectify. It wasn't quite the 8-goal or 9-goal thriller that we've just harped on about, but that game was very close until the last kick of the game.
Yeah, and it's like I spoke about previously, our moments. Unfortunately, a moment cost us the game, cost us a point. Could have, other moments could have cost us 3 points in the game. We had chances, but football is football. Football can be really, really cruel sometimes. So, we're just moving forward, and we just really want to make sure that we take our moments and we're just solid on Saturday.
Parkley have welcomed back some pretty key names in the last couple of weeks as well as yourself. I'm fairly certain that Chris Holden's come back. Is he into the mix? There have also been some sort of late signings I've heard. Whatever you're willing to reveal about that in your answer in a couple of seconds is up to you. But I have seen some team changes, and I have seen some great players come back who are in the mix in recent years. So has it been, not only from a personal perspective, is it good to not just get back into the team, but to be surrounded by the quality players who have the experience?
Yeah, certainly. The couple of signings we've made have just been some players from our past, and just having those players back in the squad just with that kind of experience is phenomenal to have, and it really lifts the boys and it lifts the younger boys to see what kind of players that we're bringing in. So yeah, definitely a positive sign in the camp.
So the second last question I have for you is just about Marion again specifically, and the way that they've played this year has been fantastic, and you've probably given them one of the sort of hardest sort of games, and the closest one certainly. That maybe they weren't expecting to get that last minute winner against you guys. Again, there's a chance to rectify that this time come this Saturday, 6 p.m. So what is it about Marayong do you think is so good? Sort of what have you picked up from watching them and playing against them, and what are your sort of insights as to how you might cope with them?
Look, it's not about what Marayong do, because at the end of the day, Marayong will still be very competitive, very physical, very good on the ball. I think the important thing for us is to focus on what we can do, our strengths, and I think our strengths will lie in mitigating Marayong's threats. So as long as we're strong on the day, we should be able to take this game. We want this game.
Yeah, very good. And a team that is strong in all areas. There's not sort of one goal scorer who's pulling away. There are goals across the front line. There are goals in midfield. The fullbacks get involved as well. So it's going to be a tough one. But like I said, this fixture just happens to bring something special about it every time, and it tends to be a lot closer than what sort of the table might suggest. Speaking of the table, just to round things up and sort of a update of where we were at this point when we last spoke on the podcast down there. Have the conversations changed around club championship and what the future holds, or changed expectations, or is it still full guns blazing and Parkley knows where it wants to be next year?
Yeah, full guns blazing. We're not lying down and taking this at all. We're working really, really hard in training, and the boys are turning up onto the field every week, putting in their absolute best. So as long as we keep doing that, then it's in our hands.
I wish you the best of luck. I'm hoping for a really good game. It is obviously a game that won't look, too sort of meaningful maybe if you only look at the table, but the previous games between these two sides have been really entertaining, and I'm thinking that we're going to get something similar come this Saturday. Geordie, thanks very much for being on the podcast as per usual.
Thank you.
A great interviewee you are indeed.
Thank you. Good luck, Marayong. Let's go, boys.
Are they capable of doing the unthinkable? Anything can happen in football. It's just 90 minutes. I'm here for it. I'm here for an upset, A trip up the coast is never that much fun, especially when you lose the 20s game 3-0 as we did, but a late winner by William Di Martino in our first grade game to win 3-2 was a great end to the away day. So, 3-2 winners, our first grade over Central Coast United. We've already spoken to Marayong once today. How's the second time with their women's team? This is going to be a fun one. It's been a long time running, and I'm delighted to say that the timing is perfect to re-welcome Marayong's Women's Premier League representatives to the Blacktown Football Hour podcast following their first win of the season. Not just over anyone as well, but over Kellyville, who are up in second place. It's lifted you guys very much from the foot of the table up into sort of third last now, but just really, considering how little teams there are in the competition, right around the final spots. And very realistically, you can push for those spots now. Guys, just generally thanks for joining us. And Bianca, to you for the first time as well for featuring on the podcast. I'm sure we'll see you in a couple of moments, but it's great to have you here. But Naj, I just want to go to the coach first. How are you feeling a couple of days post first win?
Look, it's definitely a great feeling. We've been so close on so many occasions. So, we had 4 draws before this game. We just haven't been able to kind of just get over that, get over the line, but to finally do it and the competitors that we did it against, it was an awesome feeling. And you know what? In all honesty, I felt happier for the girls more than anything because they've deserved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Irini, as one of the captains and sort of senior leaders in the side, and certainly the most brave out of the team when it comes to being on the podcast, what was sort of your reaction? Did you sort of just run to the nearest person near you? What was it like?
Well, I have to say I actually woke up that morning feeling pretty positive. I think we've got this today. I just felt that everyone was sort of back. We'd been training well. We had most of the girls available. I think we had 15 of our players, and we only had to borrow a couple of our under 18s, whereas in previous games we've had to borrow quite a number more. And I think we just gelled a lot better on the field on Sunday. We were linking passes. We tried to play to our strengths rather than trying to worry about what the opposition were doing, and I think that worked in our favour. I feel like we controlled a large majority of the game in terms of possession. May have been able to get another goal in. Not 100% sure on whether we could have, because we still were missing a couple of girls that were sick. But yeah, I think overall we were really happy. Obviously, we got the goal in the first half, and then obviously the second half we were pushing for a second goal, but also we were looking at just making sure that we kept that defensive structure really tight. And you have touched on that before, that we have one of the hopefully better defensive records. So I think that worked in our favour. We were all communicating a lot better. Everyone was moving off the ball, and I think that all played a part in it. And every single person that came on the field did their job, which I think is a key.
Fantastic. So it's quite interesting to hear that you're still having to borrow a couple of players from that good 18 squad, but you're starting to gel a whole lot better, which is really awesome to hear. Because of course I am Blacktown biased and want to see you guys do all well. Bianca, just generally welcome to the podcast. I know you've been one of those players who's struggled to play every single game. Obviously, we've just spoken off camera about a couple of injuries here and there and sickness, this and that. Has it been good to sort of welcome yourself back into the squad in recent weeks, and are you happy to be knowing that you're part of a squad and returning to it at the time that it's performing its best?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, I missed out obviously on the game of the weekend, but I'm actually so happy. I had a good feeling actually myself when I woke up, even though I didn't feel good, that we were going to do good. And then 2 weeks prior I went overseas, so coming back and hearing from that's good. Like, it's the best thing that's happened so far. But I think we've just needed it anyways. It's just something that it was coming to that line anyways, that we were going to start obviously getting better and working together as a new team in a way. So there's a few older ones of us, but yeah, putting all the new ones and us together, it's just been really good. So I'm happy also to be back without any injuries and everything else too.
Absolutely, and good to hear. It's funny looking at the table literally 4 days ago compared to right now. Just having that little one in the wins column has put you on a very similar record to those who are around you, and you're able to sort of compete, go up and go down depending on each result now, because it is so close. And interestingly, you've got a game that can really shake up things in the match of the round this weekend. So the anticipation is building. Nigel, just sort of sticking to the game on Sunday because it is so important. How many sort of those key players that we've talked about in podcast episodes gone by have sort of returned to the frame, and have they made a difference that you were hoping they would make?
Yeah, definitely. Look, especially some of our older heads that obviously have been missing due to injuries. You know, we've got a lot of young, talented girls, but when you've got those older, more experienced heads actually marshalling them down, around the field, it definitely makes a difference to the way they play, to the way they react to things, to somebody actually telling them, even just take that 2 steps to the left, which could on its own stop a complete attack, just those two or three steps in a direction. So it's definitely good having those guys back. I mean, look, our season basically needs to start now. We're never going to have the full squad, unfortunately. I know you've seen our post when the girls won, when we put up, and you would have seen one of our girls just wearing a grey jacket. That's our striker, and what you don't see in the photo, she's in a moon boot at the moment. So, you take 2 steps forward, there's always going to be that 1 step back, unfortunately, the way it is for us. But with everything that's happening at the moment, I am extremely confident moving forward. Look, especially having those 18 girls as well, they're actually starting to train with us more often, so they're starting to gel with the girls. So yeah, look, moving forward, I can't see this team, taking a step backwards. And then yeah, look, this game is going to determine. I reckon this game will have a big say in our season. The first game against those guys was a draw. We were injury stricken back then. I mean, we just spoke about it. We didn't have Irini herself. We didn't have Bianca, who's on this call. We had about another, I think, 4 girls out at that game. We had 4 of the 18s backing up. We managed to get the draw out. And in my opinion, being fair when it's needed, Castle Hill probably felt like they'd lost 2 points that game. So they did probably, outplay us for a good majority of the game, but the girls kept working hard and got the equaliser at the end. That 1 point has actually kept us in it, in my opinion. So let's see if we can turn that 1 into 3 this weekend.
Yep, absolutely. And you'll be what is considered at home. So that'll be hopefully a little advantage to you guys. As Irini had said and had been promising in episodes gone by, and that we've talked about, a great defensive record that is above where you guys were sitting previously, sort of prior to this weekend. And now that defensive record is deserving of where you guys are sitting. It was only really a matter of time. I sort of want to talk about just the mood in the camp since then. Even just sort of online, for example, has it been a bit more jovial to any of the girls who want to put up their hand to answer this? Has it just been a bit of a sort of monkey off the back, a bit of pressure off the shoulders in just the last couple of days?
I'd say yeah.
Yes, I think so. I think even training last night, I feel like there was a definite mood shift. The girls we were joking around, even Nudgy was joking around with us a little bit more, because I feel like that monkey was on our back because we knew we could get the wins. It's just that we hadn't got there yet. And I think by getting that first win on the weekend, I think it's really gone a step in the right direction. I mean, I think we had about 6 or 7 of the under 18s training with us last night. So more of them are rocking up every week, wanting to train with us after they've already had their training session. So they want that extra practice. And they've said to us that they feel like that playing with us and training with us, they're just improving, because a lot of us are ex-rep players. So we're giving them instructions constantly. And I feel like they know that they're improving as a whole and also collectively helping the club. So I think it's good. It's a good basis for hopefully the next few years.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Bianca, you were at that game now, albeit from the sideline, but perhaps that gave you a bit of a perspective in that first ever 1-1 that was in round 3 at Max Ruddock, which is not their home ground, funnily enough. Either way, sort of what were the takeaways that you sort of remember and can recall from that game?
It was a really good game to watch. We didn't, like I said, we didn't have Irini, we didn't have our goalkeeper as well, Alana. So we had to have our striker, Kira, come in as our goalkeeper, which I think if we didn't have her that day, we just would have been I think we wouldn't have even gotten that draw. Would have been worse than what it was, like the outcome of being a draw. So it was actually a really good match to see. Like the girls were pushing for it, both attacking and defending in that way as well. It was obviously being on the sideline. It's sad to not be out there. But no, I think we actually did really good. We did a lot of good passes, even having shots as well. It was just little bare misses that wasn't going in that way for us there. But it was a really good game to watch. But Najee would have more of an understanding of that, being as the coach.
Yeah,
but no, it was really good to watch though, that game.
Yeah, good to hear. And that's two sort of different perspectives on the recap of that game. Obviously, you really can't give one because she wasn't there. That's okay. Now, as I've sort of mentioned, and I'm not sure how sort of intrinsically tied to the league table you guys are week in, week out, but I tend to study it like it's the Bible. So, funnily enough, if you are wanting to push for that top four, the team that you feasibly want to beat the most is actually Castle Hill in that fourth spot. Now, that top three, one team from each association, I've sort of harped on about it quite a lot, but it seemed that is pretty solidified, even though Kellyville and Parkley had dropped points, dropped all 3 points this weekend, both of them respectively. That top three still seems pretty secure. The one that everyone's sort of vying for as of right now is that fourth spot. Obviously, anything can happen, but that's what's on the plate right now. Now, the last time out was a 1-1 draw, obviously. Najee, you've had the opportunity to watch them. Now, if you haven't sort of looked at those match of the round games just yet, I can confirm to you, certainly watching from set pieces, they scored two quite literally identical set piece free kick goals at Valentine Sports Park in their draw 2-2 against Kellyville just a fortnight ago. What are some things that you've observed about them from A, your meetings against them or meeting against them, and B, also anything you've picked up from the live streams?
Look, I did watch that game against Kellyville. And one of the instructions to the girls was going to be, look, I forgot the girl's name that took both free kicks, but she's done it multiple times over multiple games. So one of the instructions on the weekend is going to be anywhere within 30 meters of that goal, you do not give away a foul. She is quite lethal with her free kicks. One of our Premier League men's players knows her pretty well. I believe he works with her. And that was one of the things that he mentioned. And I was like, yep, trust me, I've seen it in the videos. I know what she's capable of. But look, with us, we can't base anything that's going to happen now to any game that we played, any team from about rounds 1 to about 6. Our squad is almost completely different. You know, when you've got 4 or 5 different players. So yes, I have been keeping an eye on their games. Yes, there are 3 players that I have in mind that need to be shut down when we play them. But the good thing for us with this run home, and I actually think it is a good thing, is nobody knows what they're going to come up against with the 4 or 5 girls that have come back. So they're going to be fresh. Nobody knows them. Nobody knows anything about them. So I'm actually quite excited to see how some of the teams are going to react to some of our newbies on the field.
Certainly, and I completely agree with that. The funny thing is as well, in terms of a turnaround in form, not that Castle Hills was as bad as yours, forgive me for sort of putting it like that. I just want to be simple about it. But they're in the best form in the comp besides Holroyd in terms of their last sort of 5, 6, 7 games. They've been struggling to drop points is the way that I'll put it. So they're in quite good nick at the moment. Obviously, they came back from 1-0 down and then 2-1 down in that match of the round game, and they had some ridiculous 4-5 win away at Quakers on Sunday, the most recent Sunday gone by. So they are fighters and grafters, and that's why things are sort of pointing their way now. So if anyone's ready to stop them, you know, it's you guys who have just come off this, you know, at home in the match of the round occasion. So that's why I'm so keen to watch this game. As someone who obviously would have seen the social media post where you guys pretty much vowed to push for finals now, and we've obviously spoken the way we have now, is there belief within you, within the squad, that now that these, you know, personnel have re-entered the frame, and now that you've finally got that monkey off the back, is top 4 a realistic push for you guys?
Oh, definitely, 100%. I mean, we talk about it every week, and Najee pretty much, I think, knows the table off by heart and lets us know where everybody's sitting and whose results are who. So he does keep us informed about where we're sitting and what we need to do, and we are well aware of the number of points that we need to pick up in the next few games in order to push for that final spot. And it's definitely something we've talked about a lot. The girls are well aware, and we know that we can do it. And we're looking forward to the game on Sunday because, like we said, we're going to have a few players that have come back that didn't get to play against Castle Hill last time, including myself, obviously. And I think we can definitely give them a run for their money.
Bianca, you've obviously, sorry to interrupt you. You've obviously watched them now once, and you've obviously heard this, and on your first time on the podcast, at least live recording it. Does it sort of motivate you to want to win the game on Sunday? Just that little bit more?
100%, yeah. From obviously the win last week, like last week's win to now, it's just like, even like what she's saying, from that training, we're just keen to just keep going and just obviously get to that spot of at least getting into the 4th spot so we can get up there and go to finals, because it's all what we've been talking about from the beginning of the season anyways, is trying to get up there. So looking forward to this Sunday for sure.
Absolutely, great to hear. The top 4 race has certainly heated on up, and while first spot might be out of reach for every other team bar Holroyd, obviously I think that with a couple of other interesting results that anybody could be finishing in those top spots, I think the push for the finals will be extremely interesting as we head into the pointy, sharp end of the season. Thank you to Naji, to Bianca, and to Irini, the latter of Bianca specifically, for coming on for her first time and performing really well. Doing the podcast obviously is not easy, as you can tell by the fact that I still stumble over my words 50 episodes in. Guys, generally, thanks very much for being here. I do appreciate it, especially being on your breaks from work. Always great to chat to you. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Thanks
for having us.
Welcome back. Let's stick with the Women's Premier League. Time now for some game analysis as well. But first, the result recap, of course. Quakers 4 to Castle Hill 5 in a thriller, as we're about to talk about up next. Marayong halted Kellyville 1-0, as you know. Norwest 3-2 over Greystanes in the dark-coloured Jersey derby, while Parklea fell to Holroyd 2-1 here at Blacktown Football Park. Let's talk about it. A mounting pressure from the long throw-ins on the 23-minute mark eventually saw a ball bounce rather funny, and it hit the hand of Holroyd's defensive stalwart Paige Hawkins, who was perfect outside of this one moment. Otherwise, from the spot, then Courtney Holmes was brave, and the bravery paid off. Top finish into the bottom left-hand corner. You can't let the ball bounce in the box from a set piece, corner or throw. It's that simple. That's the learning for Holroyd. A short-lived lead for Parklea though, but a goal right out of the top drawer from D. King, an Olympico no less. For Shannon Williams in goal, I'm not sure how much work she would have done in years gone by to prepare for set pieces with such quality behind them, but it seems like Holroyd are really the outstanding dead ball specialists in the comp. This delivery is incredible, and a goal on camera to remember for the diminutive number 10. With 20 to go, the screening midfielder Daniela Pelazzolo picked up the ball exactly on her halfway line and drove forward with real intent, a brilliant give and go with her striker Bernard, and a classy finish underneath the keeper to win the game for Holroyd. A third man run that utterly shocked the defence of Parklea, and that would be the final goal of the game. The final interview right now, let's go chat with the ever fun Castle Hill United. Through the fires of internet issues, we are finally talking to Castle Hill United today on a Thursday with the podcast going up tonight. We struggled to get them on the podcast last night due to some issues technically, but I'm very grateful that they made some time to be on today as well. Thanks to Colin and to Jazz for being here. Castle Hill guys, first and foremost, I was very, very impressed with the 2 comebacks that you made in the match of the round against Kellyville a couple of weeks ago. The free kicks, the technical ability on those free kicks was insane. You guys talked the talk on the podcast a couple of days prior, and then you walked the walk as well, and it was an entertainment personified. I was really happy to see that. And then as well, a couple of days ago now on Sunday, you guys wanted to make it even more entertaining in a crazy game up against Quakers. So as I said to you last night, which one would you like to start with?
Me?
Colin?
Let's go back to the match of the round against Kellyville.
Okay.
Both teams, we knew what it was going to be, and both teams are really good BP. Okay, we're really good in possession and connecting and that sort of play, and it showed out in the game. They scored their first goal through a mistake from our goalkeeper. That was it. Their second goal was through a mistake at the back that we made. That was it. They clearly had a plan to stop Claire, our Claire, because she scored 2 spot kicks from not far outside the halfway, like, or in between, and they were both the result of her being fouled. So she repaid them perfectly. Okay, and look, Claire would be as good as any male in Castle Hill United at that work. She absolutely is outstanding. So yes, they tried to take her out, and she repaid them with the 2 goals. So.
Yes, she did. And just quietly, not so quietly, I guess, but having a look at the Golden Boot updates each week as they sort of come through my inbox, and she's doing quite well. So as we head into the pointy end of the season, let's see where she ends up. Gold, silver, bronze. Maybe she'll drop down. I don't know, but it's very entertaining nonetheless.
As a mark of her, we discussed that in our group chat the other day, and her response was, "I would rather the team win than me win Golden Boot." So there you go. She's a great person as well.
It's very good to hear. Very, very good to hear indeed. So that game obviously ended 2-2. There was a crazy 4-minute spell of 3 goals that included those 2 identical free kicks. Talk about going through some sort of all of the emotions possible, Colin. You must have been, pulling your hat off on the sideline.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd gone 1 down. We went to half time at 1 down, but we're always positive in our chat. Is this what we're still talking about, the Colts game?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. So we're positive in our chat, and we knew what we were doing, and we knew that the goal was an accidental goal. And we came back in that second half. We were leading, and then it came draw, and then it finished up a 2-2 draw. So absolutely, yes, we had a plan. The plan primarily worked, and we came out of it with confidence, because Colts are a great team. They're good across the park. They've got a few people in there who I recognise from my previous NPL days, and so they've recruited well, and that was a springboard for us. Absolutely.
Yep, for sure. Now let's speak about the most recent game that you guys played in. Jazz, I'll go to you for this one. Quakers Hill 4, you guys Castle Hill 5. You were up by 3 at halftime, and I guess you have to objectively say the foot came off the gas just a little bit. What was the sort of conversation at halftime when you're up 3-0? Did it feel cruisy, or did Colin tell you to keep going? What was it like?
We reset completely, pretty much, and we were just like, we always lose the second half. Let's win this second half. We're already 3-0 up. Like, let's just play as if it's 0-0. And everyone was like, yeah, let's do it. And then everyone just all of a sudden it was 4-4, and we were like, okay, that's crazy. But I think the intention was there for sure. We all wanted to win the second half, and Colin and Pete got into us about it and was like, we need to make sure this happens. And everyone was pretty much like, yeah, let's do it. But then kudos to the other girls, they picked up quite a lot as well, and they came out really strong and finished those four goals off to make it 4-4. But yeah, we all, the intention was there, it just didn't execute well.
Now, Colin, I'll throw to you that there might be a bit of a sort of sheepish grin in everything that's been said just then, but from what I did pick up through the wilderness of the crappy internet last night is that a certain Jazz did score the winner in that game, correct?
Mark, absolutely. She saved our bacon with only a couple of minutes to go, stood up there, and by her own admission, she'll tell you that she hasn't scored as many goals this season as she has done in previous seasons, and she nailed it. Absolutely nailed it, and was a great result in the end. Absolutely. She's a star.
That's good. That's good. But you've been playing on the wing sometimes, so maybe that's the little excuse she can now, to those podcast listeners who are just purely listening and not watching, the reason why I wanted to bring up the goals conceded is because up in first, Holroyd have conceded 7. Second place, Kellyville have conceded 8. And Parkley had conceded 9. Now, you guys, despite only being 1 point behind third place, have conceded 10 more goals than them, which is sort of that is the difference. And I can see Jazz laughing, not that you guys will be able to see that, but that's sort of the place to address. Now, Colin, as much as we laugh, we know the old adage is defense wins you titles, attack wins you games, defense wins you titles. So the good thing is a lot of the games that you're winning tends to be 5-2. You are conceding a lot of goals, but you're also scoring a hell of a lot. So what's going on there? And obviously the most recent game is one to sort of point at. And how do you think you'll go about addressing this?
We actually, even last night, we worked on it at training, and we've identified some areas that we need to be better at. I'll say that we have a plan. So we've just finished the first half of the competition. Last Sunday was the second time we played Quakers Hill, and I've been mucking around at the back. Okay, I've been testing relationships, and I've been testing structures, and I don't think we've had the same structure 2 games running. But now that we're into this part of the season, I know what's working. And I'll say to you, when we spoke previously, we hadn't been scoring a lot of goals. We've fixed that. We scored 5 on the weekend, so that's done. I've now looked at defence and how we can structure it. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but we're pretty confident now that I've got it right. Knowing the people I've got, knowing their best abilities, where they play best. Yeah, we're comfortable the rest of the season that is something that we had to address, and we're working on it.
Well, look, everything that you've told me in these podcasts, which have been about on average 3 to 4 weeks, has ended up coming to the front and coming to fruition. So I'm not.
I say Jazz is going to score 5 goals this weekend.
Okay, well you've put it out there now, so it must happen. So look, let's look forward to Marayong this weekend as we head towards the point of these podcasts. It's mainly to talk about the match of the round. Yep. I've spoken to you about looking forward and looking over your shoulder, but I just want to focus on this game. Marayong have just put their first 3 points on the board, and from someone who knows the Blacktown comp better than he does the Hills and Granville comps, the mood around that camp is amazing. It's taken a step up. Now there are reasons as to why they've gotten better in recent weeks. I will let that reveal itself tonight when it comes out, and you can watch the segment. Of course, that's just my way of getting more views and likes and stuff. Anyway. But having finally won their first game, it's good. It's good for them, and it's the best and worst time to play them from an entertainment perspective. It's the best for you guys. It's probably the worst time to play them. Now let's throw back to the 1-1 earlier in round 3 against them, which was at Max Roddick. They had to put a striker in goal for that game. So Jazz, I'll throw it to you. As long as you definitely did play in that game, I just wanted to confirm. They said that you guys deserve to win that 1-1 draw in round 3. Is that true?
Yeah, for sure. We went and watched it back, and we had, I think it was either 38 or 35 shots on goal, and she saved every single one of them. It was ridiculous.
I think we touched on this at some point in one of the earlier matches.
Yeah.
I remember that's sort of ringing a bell now, actually. So
yeah, she did ridiculously well against us, and we don't I know we haven't been scoring heaps goals this season, but we have great shots on goal, and she cleaned up 99% of them. We only scored the 1, and our entire team was impressed. We all went up to her after the game, and we were like, wow, you're so good.
It's good to hear. A bit of a scouting network, perhaps. Maybe.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Colin, a bit more from sort of a technical perspective. Was it as simple as the goalkeeper was just playing out of her skin?
That was the major factor. Absolutely. There was one towards the end where one of our players, Jen, had a shot that we were applauding, and all of a sudden out of nowhere comes this hand and pushes it over the bar. Like it was one of those things. The other part to it was I ended up with finishing the game with 9.5 players on the field. It was just one of those games whereby I only had 12. Then I had 2.5 injuries. When I say 2.5, I left the girl on there who couldn't run, but just to stand and be in the way. So it wasn't the best metric for us. So we still didn't lose, which was good. had lots of shots. And so with this week, for example, I've got 16 on the team sheet.
Wow.
So
That's
we've got
amazing.
our best and fairest out there.
Congratulations. That's quite good because a lot of borrowing has tended to happen in recent weeks as the fixtures are getting busier. So that's good to hear. Now they've obviously played in a match of the round or twice now, but more recently against Holroyd, a 2-0 loss. Now losing to Holroyd is no sort of strange thing. Everyone's lost to Holroyd at some point, except for no, everyone has lost to Holroyd now. So what have you learned from both, their very first match of the round of the year, but mainly the most recent one? Colin?
Marion play a particular style, and we've been developing a style that I think will overcome that. They're very strong, very, very strong on the ball and strong at the back. And we are expecting it not to be in any way, shape or form an easy game. It's one that we will have to grind out and stick to our game plan very, very closely to come out on top of. Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to it because they're a different style of play to any other team in the competition. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Likewise, I think a lot of their strength in this last part of the season will come from their rock solid defense, which is improving each week.
Yeah.
And Jazz, I know you're sort of half preoccupied. I know we've caught you at a bad time with work. So once again,
That's okay.
I really do appreciate you being on here and making time for it. But I will ask that old question because you are in that one spot that everyone seems to want in fourth right now. Are you guys still looking is the mentality still to crack into the top three, or is it still to just fend off the guys below you? What's the mentality?
We're just going to keep winning. That's it. We're just going to keep winning, go from there, and then we'll make it to the grand final and then win that. So we don't really care about fourth place. On my half, I don't really care about fourth place. As long as we keep winning, which we're going to do, then places, they don't really matter to us. Well, to me.
Peaking at the right time of the season sounds very much like one or two other teams and how they've sort of put their season, but I think it's a good mentality to have, and that's the beauty of finals football, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, maybe just finally, maybe a prediction ahead of this game, because I think you have very similar defensive records, but they have a bit of a worse goal scoring record. So Colin, what are you sort of expecting? A high scoring one or a low scoring one?
I'd expect a low scoring one. My prediction would be we'll win 3-1. That would be my prediction.
Hang on, you just said that I was going to score 5 goals this weekend.
My prediction is we will win 5-1.
Oh, there you go.
Jazzy, thank you. I revised it. Yes, that was perhaps a bit tongue in cheek. I know that if we take our opportunities, we will win well. But I also know that Marayong is dour at the back, and we'll have to work really hard to do it. So either 5-1 or 3-1, depending on Jazz.
As long as I don't score the own goal, then that's fine with me.
Fantastic. Well, it's going to be my pleasure to finally have the opportunity to commentate you guys as well. So I'm hoping I give you a good game in that sense as well. I'm delighted to welcome you to Blacktown Football Park. It'll be good to meet you, not in my pajamas, Colin, specifically. Well, Pastor Hill, as always, for making time, especially today, to be on the podcast. I'm very appreciative, just generally. Thanks very much. And I wish you the best of luck heading into this weekend to match the round.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Welcome back for the final time in the episode. Let's wrap things up with a quick bit of analysis and results recapping from the Warrior Premier League 1 and 2. Parkley 2, Ponds 5 as the holding premiers continue on their good momentum in the second part of the season. Workers 2 over Eastern Creeks 1 as the two sides in question there seem to be having a swap of form in recent weeks. Dooney held to a draw 2-2 with Rivo, but my best wishes go out to the Rivo player who suffered a broken collarbone in that last 2 minutes of that game and had to be delayed, and an ambulance was called. I'm not exactly sure who that is, by the way, but my best wishes and fingers are crossed for him, and I'm sure he would have also picked up a cold considering how cold and wet it was that day indeed. Back to the results. Quakers got a much-needed 2-1 victory over Prospect, while champions-elect Marion got that 2-1 win over the hard-to-beat Ropes, as we already talked about. In the Deploy Premier League 2, Oakville put up 5 to Minchinbury's 1. Tigers with a lucky escape over Glenwood 2-1, while in the match of the round, of course, Spurs at this venue beat Bologna 1-0. Let's talk about it. As mentioned on the mic, it was 17-year-old striker Mohamed Nazari's first match of the round and first grade start, and within 6 minutes he had a goal to mark the occasion. What I didn't know at the time was that he was only a 16s Division 1 player for Bologna last year. Wow, the more you know. This miss of the ball here by Rosa Martin allowed the brilliant Akashdeep Bumbla to put in a left-footed cross to the kid. The kid's finish was exceptional, timed to perfection. He didn't try to smack it, composure beyond his young years, but it all came from that little missed nick away on that attempted clearance. Right, that is going to do it for episode 16 of the BFH Blacktown Football Hour podcast. Episode 16, of course, a big thank you and congrats to the work and recognition that's gone to Janae from Prospect. Congratulations on being the volunteer of the week. It was great to have football back this week. I'm so happy because I feel so empty when there is no football and I have nothing to do with my weekends other than watch more football. So thanks for bringing the games back. It's my joy and pleasure to be able to talk about games on this live stream and the podcast. I mean, it's part of my fun. A reminder to like, subscribe and share in that order so that you can be a certified friend of mine. And remember, when life gives you lemons, cue the outro music.
Thank you.